Like me, you may have been binging the Netflix documentary series, Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. The documentary revolves mainly around Joe Exotic, the eccentric, gay, gun-wielding zookeeper, who was sent to prison for supposedly hiring a hitman to kill his longtime tiger owner rival, Carol Baskin. Joe Exotic himself had 2 husbands, but there's another character in the series who seemingly had multiple romantic partners. You may remember him. His name is Doc Antle. After watching the documentary, I and many other viewers couldn't help but wonder why Doc's business seems so much like a cult. Let's examine the cult behaviors of Doc Antle and his Animal Reserve hierarchy of women. Afterwards, we'll use Stephen Hassan's bite model to check for cult behaviors. The bite model helps us to determine the level of control that Antle forced upon his workers, and is used to detect cult behaviors. Let's break it down, piece by piece. Then, we'll give it a total score of suspected bite model behaviors. And yes, I really did say his Animal Reserve hierarchy of women. Antal Bahagavan, or Doc as he likes to be called, owns the Institute for Greatly Endangered and Rare Species, or T.I.G.E.R.S for short. T.I.G.E.R.S is a 50-acre wildlife preserve located in South Myrtle Beach. He also owns a program called Myrtle Beach Safari, a tour that runs through the preserve, offering people an up-close and personal experience with exotic animals. T.I.G.E.R.S claims the preserve is a wildlife preservation organization dedicated to promoting global conservation education through entertaining and interactive programs. Several animal activists have accused him of animal exploitation. Brittany PETA's founder-director of Captive Animal Law Enforcement, told Myrtle Beach Online last year that Antle exploits cubs for the big cat petting industry. That's where you take tiny tigers and put them in photos, and after they grow to a certain size and they're no longer deemed useful, they're euthanized. She also claimed that he uses animals for harmful hands-on encounters and photo ops. Pete stated that Antle has a rap sheet of Federal Animal Welfare Act violations a mile long. The U.S. Department of Agriculture did cite Antle for several violations, including failing to provide tigers a secure enclosure last year. He was raided around December, but Antle attributes this raid to an investigation in Virginia regarding 3 cubs in his possession and maintains that he has done nothing wrong. He told the producers of Tiger King, quote, "I'm popular. I'm so well known as a big cat guy around the world that people who are against people having relationships with animals, period, want to destroy me because I'm out there in the forefront, so known of being this guy that's in love with big cats and has them love him back." He also stated that he built his operation for people to have an interactive, up-close, uncaged experience with wildlife. Bahagavan Kevin Antle was born in 1960 in Salinas, California. He grew up on an industrial farm and was raised in a very agricultural-centered family. His father was a boxer, while his mother took care of sick animals and was very interested in Eastern philosophy. Antle revealed that it was his mother who named him Bahagavan. Raised on his upbringing, in an interview with the Rolling Stone, he revealed that he wanted to grow up to be some blend between Rambo and the Dalai Lama. Antle dropped out of school before 9th grade and began working in rodeos and training dogs. He admitted he lived a wild and reckless lifestyle in his younger years. Later on, he left for China, which is where he earned the doctor in his name. He is apparently called Doc because he is a doctor in mystical science? I'm not sure what that is. It's speculated by some, however, that it's actually some sort of medical training degree, though sources on this I've found are not clear. Anyway, he returned to America in the 1980s and spent the next few years in Yogaville, Virginia. It was here he studied alternative medicine and began working as a guru during lectures at Exxon. Around this time, in 1982, Antle bought his first tiger, a 100-pound tiger cub that he raised himself. Antle brought the tiger cub to his Exxon conferences. He soon found out that whenever he brought the cub, students wanted pictures with him, and Antle realized this could be a profitable market. So he began setting up a business, training tigers for Hollywood. He was later hired to work on films like Ace Ventura and Dr. Dolittle. With the savings he earned over the years, he bought a property in South Myrtle Beach and founded Tigers. According to the Myrtle Beach Safari website, the preserve has raised and trained more than 400 big cats and receives more than 3 million visitors annually. The preserve also houses Hercules, a liger that has been recorded to be the largest living cat in the world. It's there on his property he works with his largely only female staff. On the documentary series Tiger King, Antle states that he has a complex personal life, which is not meant for prime-time television. This is not surprising because Antle's family on the Tigers Reserve are mostly women, and it's unclear about the kind of relationship he has with them. Some of the women we're introduced to in the documentary are China York, whose real name was Michelle, Moksha Baibi, whose real name was Meredith and has been with Antle for 16 years, and Rajani Ferrante, whose real name was Renee and has been with Antle for 20 years. According to the Myrtle Beach Safari page, Rajani joined in 1998 and is the assistant director. She has degrees in history and anthropology. She's in charge of maintaining the safari's facilities and is the caregiver to all feline and canine babies. Moksha has been with Antle since 2001 and grew up in Utah, surrounded by farm animals. On the property, she's considered the general manager. Her nickname is Monkey Mama, and she raises all the baby monkeys and apes. China is the director of the Miami facility. She grew up in Pensacola, working at a Domino's when she was 17. It is clear that Doc is surrounded by women, and he claims to have always enjoyed attention from the opposite sex. While his Facebook status shows married, we don't know who he's married to. And even in the Rolling Stone article I found, Antle states that he's not married, but wears a ring to keep the honest women at bay. Thus, it's really not possible to be sure of Doc's marital status. That being said, he appears to be what we would call an alpha male, and appears to be very specific in his choice of staff members, especially women, according to Barbara, who, during her time with Doc Antle, had changed her name to Bala. In the Netflix documentary, Mario's wife alleges that Doc has 3 wives. Others feel it's closer to 4 or 5 wives. Joe Exotic says that he has 3 to 4 girlfriends, while Saf says he has 9 wives. During filming, Doc seemed to suggest something similar, telling the camera his longtime girlfriend is actually China. But China, Rajni, and Moksha all live in separate houses on his land. Still, he appears to refer to them as his girls, leading many to assume he's in a relationship with all of them. In Tiger King, several people seem to have different ideas. Are you curious to find out about the wives and girlfriends of Doc Antle? Let's continue on. So in Tiger King, the docuseries itself appears to strongly suggest that Antle is running some sort of cult-like organization. But Antle himself said in the series that it's more like a great big cohesive family unit that helps run his conservation and that many of his workers came on as apprentices when they were teens. Although the docuseries alludes that he's in a relationship with all of them, he said in an article with Oxygen.com that that's not true. He's quoted as saying, "When I say my girl, it's a cowboy saying. It's not that these are my wives." He added that the scene was taken out of context. As for how many wives he said 0. "Sure, I've had girlfriends, and there are girls I've had relationships with that come and go over the decades," he said. "However, I've been single ever since my wife died in a car crash. I am absolutely not married, nor have I been married since my wife died over 20 years ago now. I'm not married, and I certainly don't have wives. I'm certainly a single guy, and I live in a house by myself." He stated that many of the young women featured in the film are girlfriends of his son and grandchildren. He stated, "I do not have a harem. I'm what they call OFG these days. Old, fat, and gray. I embrace that character, and I'm not chasing down women. 20 years ago I was more of a dashing fellow, but even then I was ultra-conservative." Antle states that he doesn't drink, smoke, or eat meat. He states, "The cultiest thing I have about me is that I totally believe that yoga has helped me stay limber and strong and made my life a better thing. I'm really more of a country bumpkin more than any type of cultist. We're very normal, down-to-earth people." As much as I want to believe Antle's statements, I can't help but refute that claim, because we see that in the second episode of Tiger King, an ex-employee from South Myrtle Beach claims that the zoo felt very much like a cult. She was made to work many hours a week for very little money. This employee's name is Barbara Fisher. You may remember her previous name was Bala while she was there under Doc Antle. And she worked from Antle from 1999 to 2007. She alleged that Doc liked to have his apprentices first as sexual partners so that they could be bonded to him in some way. And he used this to feel like he could get them to do anything he wanted. She also suggested staff are made to live in cockroach-infested areas. When Doc heard these claims, he's stated as saying, "This is the ramblings of a crazy child who has a lot of, in my opinion, issues, and somehow those must have boiled up." While researching this topic, I myself found a Reddit post by a previous employee who agreed with Barbara. Although I can't verify these claims, I will share it with you because, if true, there's a lot of valuable information about life working at Tigers here. Throwaway account. I was an apprentice at Tigers and worked with Bala, the girl they interviewed. Everything she said is totally true. We were worked so hard that you don't know which way was up. When you're done for the day, you're exhausted. When I came for my first interview with Doc, I'll never forget. He said that we couldn't date each other because it was dangerous, but he encouraged sport fucking. I was 17 at the time. We did make $100 a week, and you had to go to him and ask him to get it, like a father figure. All of this was before he did the big TV show or anything like that, so we all lived in little trailers. I remember once I had to leave to get my hair dyed, and I went to the person that did all the girls' hairs, and it was taking a long time, and they started calling the lady doing my hair, asking if I was really still there. While there was a lot of respect for the animals by all, I truly believe that everyone really thinks they're doing a positive thing. The animals were all well fed and cared for, as good as it can be for animals in captivity there to entertain the public. But once I left and could see from the outside, I knew it was a cult. We would do shows every day at 2 locations. One was small animals and small monkeys, and the other was full-grown tigers and cubs for photographs. It was a really hot day, and when you loaded the trucks, you had to make sure They were on so that the air was circulating through the trailers, or they would get too hot. So we had a young black leopard cub in a plastic dog crate, and it was put in the trailer, and the truck wasn't on, so that was the end of the leopard. No one really talked about it, but it got cast away and buried in the woods. Rolling Stone also did an extensive report on Doc, Antle, and T.I.G.E.R.S. According to them, to be eligible for Antal's apprenticeship, one does not need a formal education. However, recruits have to be single and childless. They can't expect any time off for any reason and must be within 20 pounds of their perfect athletic weight or working to get there, able to do push-ups and pull-ups and run a 12-minute mile. They must be vegetarian and can't smoke or drink. Furthermore, they must have all watched The Devil Wears Prada and Kill Bill Volume 2. They have to submit a photo and be committed to the lifestyle there. In return, they get food and lodging, cable and internet, and a stipend of $100 a week. Barbara Fisher says that women would have to sleep with Antle to get to the top. Fisher even likened her experience with Antle to being a suicide bomber in a 2017 Iowa Informer piece. It is true that he has often asked women to dress in sexy outfits to lure customers. Moreover, we know that he refers to some of his women as his girls or girlfriends. Once again, this is heard in the docuseries. Alright, let's take a bite out of this series. Get it? Because it's the bite model? Oh, okay, I'll stop now. Doc Antle gives all of his girls a small allowance, forces them to live on property, and uses his status to control his interns. Members are forced to live on the compound. It appears the higher status, the better living conditions. For example, the 3 girls Doc has living in mansions. Other workers have described living in trailers. Doc Antle picks their clothing. It appears rather promiscuous and could be demeaning depending on the woman's beliefs and what they would prefer to wear. All workers there must be vegetarian and within 10 pounds of optimal weight and can't smoke or drink. Some workers have described working up to 16 hours a day and getting very little rest. There's no breaks in between shows. Doc Antle pays his interns $100 a week. Some workers claim they had no days off and had to live on the compound in roach-infested trailers. Doc Antle denies all claims, even though witnesses have come forth with personal testimonies. Doc Antle has renamed all of his workers and chosen their styles, outfits, and names. These are all changed to appear more attractive to customers. Doc Antle's sexy tiger harem cult scores a possible 10 out of 35, making the cult mildly dangerous. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to help support what I do, you can leave a tip on PayPal, buy me a coffee, or become a patron. It's only $1. Most of my content is not monetized because of the things that I talk about. You know, the murder and sex and cults. Good stuff, family friendly. If any of you were an intern or worker of Doc Antle, if you could reach out to me and let me know, was it really as bad as some claimed? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Until next time, starlings, stay spooky.
T.I.G.E.R.S. T.I.G.E.R.S.